Today we're going to talk about stability. And the idea of stability is really a much richer idea than simply being balanced. One of the definitions of stability is the strength to stand or endure. It's also the ability to, when equilibrium is disturbed, it's the ability to restore the original balanced condition. So stability is an important concept, not just in martial arts, but in everyday movement. If you think about, as far as the martial arts side of things, if you think about a fighter going into a ring, they don't want to be unstable. That gives their opponent an advantage. They don't go into a ring like this. They lower their center of gravity so that they are more stable, that they're less likely to be disturbed so much that they get off balance. So that's the first key that we're going to talk about today to maintaining your stability, is learning to lower your center of gravity. So let's do pushing chi. And just do pushing chi like you normally would. Just think about breathing in as you come towards your body, breathing out as you push away. And this is not a movement where you're moving forward or backward, you're not moving side to side, so it's easy to have the idea of stability. But now what I want you to do is challenge yourself to go just a little bit lower, and perhaps you might need to make your stance just a little bit longer, a little bit wider, as you lower that center of gravity and feel the ground. Now, part of one of the keys not only is lowering your center of gravity, but becoming more rooted and grounded, feeling the ground, feeling the energy coming from the ground. Let's do the other side. And again, lowering your center of gravity. This is another key, is moving from the dantian. We not only move from the dantian forward and back, side to side, but we also move up and down. Lowering that center of gravity is essentially allowing that dantian to be lowered. Now think about your stance is also helping you be stable, that you're not narrow like this. No one would do pushing chi like this. We instinctively know this is not stable. Having your stance wide enough, long enough, and now lowering that center of gravity. If someone were to come over and push you on the shoulder, try to disturb your equilibrium, you would be less likely to fall over than if you're upright and narrow, right? You are more stable with that lower center of gravity, with that wider stance. Let's do some chi walking. I'm going to move towards the camera here this way. And as you step and you feel your substantial and insubstantial changes, think about moving from the dantian, bringing that dantian over your base of support, and now lowering that center of gravity just a touch. You know what your knees can handle. You know what your hips can handle. I'm not asking you to lower your center of gravity like this and do your chi walking like this. That's ridiculous. But you know where you might normally be, lower it just a little bit. And practice your chi walking, feeling the ground, feeling yourself be a little closer to the ground, and concentrate on that idea of being stable in your movement. One more step. Now, the idea of lowering your center of gravity in Tai Chi does not mean that we want to make our muscles tense and tighten up and try to be balanced by being muscling through the motion. We still want to be relaxed in our motion, in our muscles. When we lower our center of gravity, we're not putting the tension here, and we're certainly not putting the tension on our knees. I don't want you to feel tense in your knees. We still try, remember the waist is the ruler. We want our weight to be centered in this central part of our body, around the dantian. As you lower that center of gravity, try to feel the weight here and not here. So let's do your chi walking again. Think about trying to keep your legs relaxed and yet lowering your center of gravity. Imagine all the weight is through here. This now becomes an important piece of why you want that dantian over that base of support, because this is where your body weight is. No jokes about, yeah, right, this is where all my weight is. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about feeling as you lower that center of gravity, allowing your body to relax, supporting the weight of your movement through your hips. One more. So now let's try it with brush knee, and I'll go towards the mirror first. Holding that ball to the right, stepping out, brush knee. Now as you rock back, think back to what we just learned a few weeks ago with our twist step. If you start to incorporate this twist step, it will help you lower that center of gravity, bringing the dantian over that base of support and allowing your body to continue to be relaxed in its movement. So let's do that brush knee again. I'll come back, holding that ball to the right, step out, lowering that center of gravity. Challenge yourself. Utilize that twist step, bringing the dantian over your base of support. And now you can actually, if you are challenging yourself, you'll find you can take a longer step, and it's much easier, it's much more balanced as you lower that center of gravity. One more, brush knee. So we want to not only be more stable by lowering our center of gravity, by moving from the dantian, keeping our muscles relaxed. We don't want to tense up. That idea of walking around tense all the time is not healthy. It's also not good for your balance. It's not good for being stable, because there's nowhere for your muscles to go if they're already tensed up. You also want to avoid being a jack in the box. You don't want to be up and down throughout your individual movements. Now certainly there are movements where our head lowers and our head comes back. When we pick the needle up from the C bottom, we come up. Obviously the head is going up and down, but that's a movement that's designed that way. We don't want to bop up and down, if you will, within a certain movement that's not designed that way, like repulse the monkey. It's very tempting with repulse the monkey as you lower your center of gravity here to begin, bringing that weight back, stepping back. This is where I see a lot of people pop up and they straighten their legs just like this. We want to be able to keep our center of gravity low as we move through our repulse, the monkey. So I'm going to go this way now. Bring your left foot forward. Lower that center of gravity. Now, as you step back, keep your head level. Try not to rise up as you finish that one motion and start the next. One of the tools that you can use to keep your head level is a mirror. And think about a marker in that mirror. See if you can lower your center of gravity, see where your head is in that mirror, and now keep it level at that point. Don't allow your head to obliterate that marker in the mirror. You know, if your family doesn't mind, you can actually mark on a mirror and then erase it. Okay, I don't like marks on my mirrors. But that's a way to practice not rising up and lowering down as you move. One of the other movements that people tend to do that is actually wave hands like clouds, where they might start low, but then they might rise up and they might step low and then rise up. Try not to do that. Try to think about moving from the Dantian again as you lower that center of gravity. Let that Dantian come over your base of support. Feel the ground. Feel that substantial and insubstantial change. Keep yourself low as you move. Keep your head level. There's no reason to bop up and down here. That actually makes you less stable. One of the other movements that I see people rising up and down is actually in Chi walking. And this comes with brand new people especially. I will tell them to step out, rock forward, rock back, open their body up just a little bit, bring all the weight onto that left. Let that right leg become empty before you step forward. This is where people tend to, as they're allowing that weight to come into the left, they think they need to straighten up. And then they step, they rock forward, they try to bring all the weight onto that forward leg, and then they actually lock that forward knee. That's not healthy. That's not a good way to walk at all, and it blocks the flow of the energy. Anytime we lock a joint, that's going to block your flow of energy. So you don't want to do that. It blocks that information coming from the ground, that being rooted and grounded. So watch yourself, watch your students as they do their Chi walking. Don't allow them to rise up. Let them learn to feel that weight shift and keep themselves low as they walk. So now let's do part the wild horse's mane, which has Chi walking at its basis. Holding the ball, step out, part the wild horse's mane. Think about your twist step again, keeping yourself nice and low. Part the wild horse's mane. Notice your head, see if you can keep it level. If you're looking in a mirror, as you practice, think about lengthening that step, keeping yourself low, keeping your legs relaxed. One of my students actually said, is so much easier with brush knee to keep myself low because my focus is here. He said, when I do part the wild horse's mane, I think I want to rise up with that hand that's rising, and see how that actually brings my back foot up as well, which makes me less stable. So when you do your part the wild horse's mane, don't think that you need to come up with that hand. That's not what needs to happen. Keep yourself low. Keep yourself rooted and grounded, feeling that stability through the ground by having a lower center of gravity. Think about how much better this would be against an opponent than this. Let's do the ward off sequence together. And it's the same idea of once you start with that lower center of gravity, think about keeping your weight through here, moving from the dantian. Keep yourself low, keep your head level, even as you grasp the bird's tail. Don't grasp like this. Don't rise up. Keep yourself stable against your opponent. Then pulling back, rotate and press. And then here's your pushing chi. Keep yourself low as you finish off against your opponent. Remember, you're pushing your opponent. You need to be stable in this stance, or your energy is going to do nothing against your opponent. In fact, they will then have the advantage, because if you're not stable, they can pull you over at that point. So holding the ball to the right, stepping out, keep yourself low and yet relaxed. Grasp the bird's tail. Roll back. Rotate and press. Pushing chi. Bring the weight over to the right, back to the left, and stepping out. Ward off. Grasp the bird's tail. Roll back. Rotate and press. Pushing chi. So the key when you're practicing being stable is allowing yourself to lower your center of gravity, making sure your stances are long enough, wide enough, feeling rooted and grounded, and yet keeping your weight here so that your legs can be relaxed, so that your movement can be relaxed. Remember that moving from the dantian is key in Tai Chi, and that's key to being stable as well.